Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of The Alliance. I'm your co host, Trevin English, alongside my co host, Noah Weinraub. And Noah, let's first talk about the first few weeks of the MLB season. Your Cubs are now the favorites to win the World
Yeah.
Series. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, man, this team just what an emotional roller coaster. I mean, 25 games in, 15-10. The record, like a normal playoff contender, but the 22 of the 25 teams the Cubs have played to start the year have record above 500 right now, and 16 of those 25 were in the playoffs last year. And right now, they're playing the Dodgers. Last night, incredible game, 9-10 back and forth the whole way. Miguel Amaya down to the final out of the game.
Yes,
Hits a
sir.
homer into the basket to tie it, and then an extras first pitch at the bottom of the 10th. Ian Happ walks it off, and then tonight, at the time we're recording this, Michael Boyd just got at Shohei. It's 6-7. It's been back and forth the entire time, just like last night. I think we're in for another thriller. And also, just going back 5 days, Friday at Wrigley Field, 120. Cubs were up 2-1, Happ hit a grand slam. And then 7-1, Diamondbacks scored 10 in the top of the eighth. But then Kyle Tucker and Carson Kelly and Seiya Suzuki, 3 homers in the bottom of the eighth. 2.5, I should say, incredible games. And we talked about this last episode. The scare still is the bullpen. It hasn't been getting any better. But the offense has been getting even better. Most runs in the MLB, best run differential by a lot. We saw them win a series in LA, and including a game where they beat the Dodgers 16-0. Just such a fun team, but the biggest concern is bullpen and third base because Matt Shaw, we saw him was the opening day starter. Then Gage Workman played about the past week. They DFA'd him today. Right now, I think John Birdie should be the starter, but just a big question mark there. So I think at the deadline or soon even, like we could do right now, and just trade for a third baseman and or a reliever. But yeah, I'm really excited right now. Definitely the best team in the Central and arguably in the NL right now.
Yeah, I think it's really between y'all, the Mets, because the Mets pitching so far this year has been locked down, best ERA in baseball. And then the Dodgers and Padres in the NL West, like the Dodgers are the $1 billion team. Like they're always going to be in the top 5 of discussions of the best teams in the NL. And then the Padres to me have been really surprising
Yeah.
as well. That outfield of, you have Gavin Sheets playing, Jason Hayward. I didn't think that lineup was going to be able to be at the top of the NL like they are, but that pitching has been amazing with Dylan Cease, Michael King, and then the sneaky signing of Nick Pivetta has really paid off. He didn't get picked up until late into the offseason by the Padres, and he has been shoving so far this year. But the Padres did just lose a series to the Tigers, which I want to talk about the Tigers for a little bit. They have been amazing so far as one of the best AL teams. I think they have the second best run differential in the AL at the time of recording, and that pitching staff has just been amazing, and especially the bullpen. I'm pretty sure, besides Kenta Maeda, who's been by far their worst pitcher, their bullpen in the last 25 innings has given up 0 earned runs. The Cubs need to take some notes. I mean, that bullpen for the Tigers has been on lockdown. If the Tigers have a 1-2 run lead heading into the 7th inning and they have to go to the bullpen, the game's basically over for any team they're playing. Like Tigers fans, I believe, have the confidence in that bullpen, no matter who comes in, whether it's Jason Foley, Tommy Canley, that
Yeah.
they're going to lock it down and the Tigers are going to get out of there with a victory.
I feel like you said Tigers bullpen's been shut down. Cubs fans take notes. I feel like it's completely polar opposites. The Tigers don't really have a overpowered offense. They just got a bunch of young, gritty hitters. And they move by to center field. I feel like that could work out for him. I mean, we've seen over the last couple of years just at shortstop, it hasn't been the prettiest offensively or defensively. But yeah, the AL Central as a whole has just been a big question mark this year. The Royals, after making the ALDS and putting up a pretty good fight with the Yankees last year, have not been off to a good start. The White Sox, everyone expected. And then the Guardians, they're just like, I don't know what to think of them so far. What are your thoughts on the Cleveland Guardians so far?
the Guardians to me are like the epitome of the AL Central. They're just going to be like wishy-washy, like always mid, never superstar level because they aren't going to spend money, but they aren't going to be super at the bottom because they're always going to have good young talent. But a thing that happened in Guardians news recently that really surprised me was
Yeah.
DFA of Tristan McKenzie,
Yeah.
their former first-round pick and top prospect. I've been a big fan of Tristan McKenzie kind of his whole minor league career once he became a big prospect for them. I think he has great stuff, great curveball. Doesn't have a super fast fastball or anything, but it has good movement, great curveball, great stuff. And, you know, the injuries have really ruined him so far with his career with the Guardians. But I could see a team like the Dodgers doing what they do, pick up guys that get DFA'd that used to be top prospects, put them in their pitching lab, turn them around, and then make a bunch of prospects out of them by trading them away. I feel like that's just such a Dodgers thing to do. And I think it's very logical that they just pick them up and see why not. Let's see what happens.
I could also see a team in the NL, two teams. I could see the Cubs. They need a lot of bullpen help right now. We just talked about this. And I could also see the Dodgers. I mean, they're just known for that type of stuff, like you said. And their bullpen, I don't know. Recently, like tonight, it hasn't been great so far at the time we're recording this. And against the Cubs last night, obviously giving up that homer to Tucker and Amaya in the 8th and 9th. But I don't know. Also another AL team that's just been a big blank question mark. We talked about this last episode. It's been a week now. Nothing's changed. The Baltimore Orioles, man. They might be in for a rough season. It's not to the point where it's super early anymore. We're 25 games in, and they're still just – they can't pitch. The bats have been cold besides Rutschman and Henderson for the most part, and Mullins, I guess. But just not off to a good start. And I don't think anything's going to change in an overpowered division.
Yeah, I think Mike Elias has just taken the fast track of how to ruin a top pipeline and farm system and making them the worst team in their division. He attacked places that didn't need to be attacked and didn't attack places that needed to be attacked. That pitching staff has proven that it is not worthy of being a postseason team. Charlie Morton pitched one of the worst games in MLB history, arguably. They gave up 24 runs to the Cincinnati Reds, who have one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball. And Charlie Morton could not get a single ball past the Reds offense that wasn't getting smacked around the ballpark.
Yeah. It's and the Reds just got shut out the very next night by the Miami Marlins, who are also awful. The Orioles, I mean, I don't know. I still trust the offense, but it's gotten to a point where I can't watch an Orioles game and be confident in that pitching staff winning the game. They lost 8-0 to the Washington Nationals last night. I'm pretty sure they lost tonight as well. So that's another series loss to a terrible, not bottom of the pack team in the NL East. It's gotten rough.
Yeah. And Grayson Rodriguez, the news came out today that he has a lat strain and he's still weeks away from throwing a baseball. So that's another big hurt to their rotation. Rodriguez's return back to pitching has kept getting postponed. And the bullpen has been good for the Orioles. Yenier Cano hasn't given up a run all season, but the Orioles can't get into the 7th, 8th inning with the lead because the pitching staff just gives it up every time. It's terrible. Mike Elias did not attack the starting rotation. He let Corbin Burns walk. And he signed Tyler O'Neill to play left field, which they didn't need an outfielder. I mean, you look at their pipeline, they have so many outfielders and guys that can play outfield. Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad. You still have Cedric Mullins. You have so many guys. And then they signed Gary Sanchez when they have a top 5 catcher in Major League Baseball and Adley Rutschman. I mean, Gary Sanchez probably has been more valuable as a pitcher. He pitched against the Cincinnati Reds when they were losing by so much.
That's true. Yeah.
But no, I want to turn back around to your Cubs. A thing that may go under the radar with the Cubs because you may not see it on the stat sheet as much. This team is very fast, you know.
It is.
John Birdie playing third. You have Pete Crow Armstrong playing in center. You have Nico Horner. You have Dansby Swanson. These are all guys that can steal bases a lot and they can cause chaos for opposing teams. You know, like what do you think that has done to opposing teams so far, you know, causing this win streak for the Cubs?
I mean, I feel like it's just throwing everybody off. We see John Birdie either gets on a walk, he's got a great eye, gets on a lot. That's mostly how he gets on. Steals 2 bases, and we can say like anybody who's hitting Carson Kelly hits him in on an RBI ground out. And it's just boring baseball. We talked about this before. It's been boring, but it's been electric. And I feel like the vibes are highest as it's been in Wrigley in 9 years since 2016. And also Pete Crow Armstrong didn't start off the season great. First couple weeks didn't have a single barrel rate. But now, not just against mostly against the Dodgers, but most series now, he's just turning it up. Last night had a huge homer. Tonight he's already homered. A couple weeks ago against the Dodgers had 2 homers, and he's getting on, stealing a lot of bases. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a 50 stolen base season. And next year, wouldn't be surprised if he has around a 30-60 30-60 season, because the power is going to keep going up, and so is the speed. He's still very young, and I feel like this year and at the end of last year, he's been developing into what is a future all-star.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention his stellar defense out in center field. I mean, it seems like he gets to every ball in the outfield, and he'll probably be a Platinum Glove nominee within 2 years. I mean, his glove out there in center field, and combined with his speed, is just next level and something you don't see out of a guy that young.
Yeah.
And you have to mention it when you're talking about PCA. That Javi Baez trade is looking worse and worse for the Mets by the minute.
It is. I'm glad.
I mean, they only got 45 games out of Baez, and then PCA just keeps
playoffs too.
Yeah, and PCA
and now the Tigers paid him a bunch of money.
Yeah.
All 3 of those guys. Well, I mean, Rizzo's a free agent now.
Yeah.
But all 3 of those guys just careers gone down the drain after leaving Chicago.
Baez is kind of going back uphill after his move to center field. It looks like he's getting some more confidence, but Chris Bryant can't stay healthy with his back injuries. And then
the Rockies are like...
Yeah, the Rockies are just
baseball, worse than the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
Big at bat here for Tommy Edman as runner on first, 2 outs, 6 to 7 games. I said it before, but I think we're in for another crazy night at Wrigley.
Yeah, I mean, this just seems like the epitome of Cubs baseball so far this year. Tonight, as of recording, and then last night, the 11-10 walk-off victory. It just seems like the Cubs are going to put up double-digit runs each night, but whoever they're playing is going to put up double-digit runs just because the bullpen's going to sell every time.
Yeah.
But, hey, that's how you win games.
We didn't talk about this. Justin Steele, out for the season. Huge blow. Absolutely huge. Starting rotation could get worse. It's been a little bit worse. Hasn't really affected the Cubs because they've won 6 out of 8, I want to say, without Steele. But Colin Ray, bigger role. Matthew Boyd, bigger role. Jameson Tyone, bigger role. And obviously Shota already has a big role, but now he's the true ace. You could make an argument a couple weeks ago, maybe last year, there was like it was close between Steele and Shota.
It was kind of just like a two-headed monster as the ace, but now Shota is the legitimate ace. Everyone knows he's the number 1 pitcher for the Cubs for the rest of the season, and I think Mike Imanaga II is going to prove that he can be an ace in the major league and be a postseason ace and kind of be that guy for the Cubs and be an all-star this year.
Yeah.
No, I want to take a moment to talk about my Rays. You know, it's not looking the greatest. You know, we're below 500 right now. As of recording, we're 4th in the AL East, but things might be looking up. You know, the offense has been kind of heating up. The young guys have been performing. And let me talk about Jonathan Aranda. This guy has been absolutely raking. He's top 5 in Major League Baseball in almost every stat category possible. He's number 1 in WOBA for the MLB. This guy has just been raking. A smooth lefty swing, young guy, lots of power in his swing. And with him playing first base every day, you got to wonder what's going to happen with Yandy Diaz. He's been playing a lot of DH, but the Rays may need that DH role for someone else like Christopher Morel, who may struggle in the outfield when Johnny DeLuca or Josh Lowe comes back into the lineup. I think a lot of teams could be shopping for Diaz just because his contact, he's proven that he's such a great contact hitter. I mean, he won the AL batting title a few years ago. He hasn't started off great this year, but if you know Yandy Diaz, he normally doesn't start the season off hot. But if Diaz can start heating up in mid-May, mid-June, and kind of boost his stock heading into the deadline, I could really see the Rays moving on from Yandy Diaz to get a decent package in return.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the Rays, I feel like in the AL East, if they were in any other division, I could trust them to contend. But they're either a fourth or fifth place team in my eyes. But the Yankees also in that division, they're still raking. It's such an interesting division. It's been for the past half decade now.
Yeah.
Just top dogs and big best projected division every year by like every MLB fan it seems. And I don't know if there's a bad team at division by September because I feel like every team has a case to be around 500 or over 500.
Yeah, definitely. We saw at some point last year that every team in the
Yeah,
AL East was 500 or above. I think it can definitely happen again if the Orioles rotation can kind of figure something out and just be viable and let the offense show kind of what the Cubs are doing. But
yeah.
let me take a moment to talk about Jonathan Ronda. He's batting 344 this year, 13 RBIs, a 1098 OPS, and already a 1.3 baseball reference WAR out of a first baseman. You never see that out of a first baseman already having 1.3 wins above replacement this year. Aranda has been raking. He hit a walk-off against the Yankees a few days ago.
I saw that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of Aranda. He won AAA Atlantic League MVP a few years ago, and the Rays are finally giving him a chance to start every day, and he's proving his worth playing first base every single day. But I think the lineup besides him really needs to step up. Junior Caminero, his power's coming in, but he's still not getting on base enough. Taylor Walls is just, to put it into basketball terms, he's a cone at the plate. He swings a poo noodle, and then on the defense, it doesn't get any better. And Brandon Lau, he's all right. He hasn't been performing great so far this year. And then the catchers, both catchers for the Rays, Danny Jansen and Ben Rortvedt, batting under 200 so far this year. And the Rays, they don't spend a lot, but they spent $8 million on a 1-year deal for Danny Jansen, which for the Rays is a lot of money, especially for a catcher. And for Jansen to not be productive at all and batting under 200, it's not a good look so far
Yeah.
for the Rays.
Mm.
But I think the AL East, like you said, is going to be pretty powerful. I think
Mhm.
3 teams probably can make the postseason out of the AL East. I don't know who, because the Orioles could heat up later in the season. And when Grayson Rodriguez comes back, I think that rotation can be viable enough that they can maybe make a late season push and make the postseason. I think the Red Sox and Yankees are kind of a shoo-in at this point, but I think the Blue Jays could honestly make the postseason. I don't know. I think the Red Sox.
Trust the Red Sox come October. I feel like the only team I'm comfortable with having faith in is the Yankees. I don't think the Red Sox lineup is powerful enough. It's too inconsistent. Devers is not off to a great start. Bregman is, and I feel like guys like Ceden Rafaela really need to step up come October. Like Willie Abreu, he got off to a really hot start, kind of cooled down a little bit, and I mean, a couple weeks ago, the Red Sox lost the series to the White Sox. They're just really inconsistent. I don't know if I can trust them. Orioles, we talked about, don't have pitching, and they're off to a terrible start. The Blue Jays, I don't know what something. I don't like the Blue Jays organization. I don't like Schneider as the manager. I just don't think he's proven anything with his tenure. And
I completely agree with that with the Blue Jays take. I don't think there's any leadership in that locker room. Like, you don't see Vladdy Jr. as a big leader. And Schneider's not a good manager. Springer isn't a leader. There's really no leadership in that clubhouse, but you look at the roster. The roster's talented, and I think the roster can at least carry them to a wild card berth. But no, I kind of want to debate you on the Red Sox a little bit because I'm a huge fan of Jarren Duran.
sure.
Obviously, Wilyer Abreu, he's been super hot this year and plays Gold Glove defense in right field. You mentioned Cedane Rafaela needs to step up, which I can agree on that. But Cedane Rafaela is going to be chaos in the base pass. He's going to steal 25 bags a year. But also, you're forgetting about the number one prospect in Major League Baseball right now, Roman Anthony, who's going to get called up at least in the middle of the season, and he's going to play a huge part, I think, in that late postseason push for the Red Sox. I think he's going to play next level outfield. He's going to swing. He's going to have such a good swing. In my opinion, he reminds me so much of Bryce Harper, and I think he's going to be an immediate impact for the Red Sox. And then, like you said, Bregman has been raking so far, and even with Devers' struggles so far at the plate, the Red Sox have still been good on offense. Costas and Devers have really been struggling at the plate, but and then the rotation has been good. Besides Tanner Houck's one start against the Rays, he's been solid so far. Garrett Crochet as a legitimate ace is amazing. Walker Buehler has been finally staying healthy on the bump. He's been healthy for the first 3 weeks of this season, and they still have Cuttercroft and they still have Bram Bayo. I think that's a good 5-man rotation for the playoffs come playoff time. And I think that lineup is good enough to be second place, maybe even fight the Yankees for first place in the AL East, honestly.
I don't think. I just feel like the Yankees are just too dominant. 1 through 9 hitting in the order. Obviously, Judge, Chisholm. And then you got guys like Ben Rice. He's off to a pretty good start this year.
Yeah.
And then the rotation when Cole and Heel come back.
Yeah.
They're going to be scary. I don't know. In the AL, I feel like right now, it's early, but I'm still trusting the reigning AL champs. Because I feel like last year was just such a weird year for the postseason. Like, a lot of those teams will not be back. The Orioles not looking like it. Royals are like 8. They are an 8-win team right now, if I'm not mistaken. Just not. And then I don't think I can trust the Tigers either. We talked about them earlier. I just feel like they're too inconsistent hitting, but they do have a great rotation. But yeah,
I don't know, because Torkelson, as we've seen, has been really coming on so far this season. I think if the former first overall pick can keep up what he's doing so far to start this year, I think that lineup can be scary. You have young guys, Trey Sweeney, Jace Young, Colt Keith. You have all those young guys. You have Riley Green, who's arguably one of the best left fielders in baseball, arguably top 3 left fielder in Major League Baseball. You have Kerry Carpenter, one of the best DHs. Yeah. And you have Baez now playing center field. Jake Rogers is a very underrated catcher. And then, like you said, that rotation has just been locked in so far this year. And I think with the experience that the Tigers got last year going to the ALDS, I think that'll help them a lot this year. And I think they can make a deep run, especially because when it comes postseason time, having a good rotation matters a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's true. But I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely more comfortable picking whoever comes out of the NL if the season ended today. Cubs, Dodgers, Padres, all
even the
those
Giants
teams over. Yeah.
But Noah, let's take a switch. Let's go and focus on the NBA. Yeah. First round is underway for the NBA playoffs. What are your first impressions so far?
Nobody and their mother can stop the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. Shea last night was 8 for 25. Thunder still by 20. A couple nights ago, he was also shooting poorly. They won by 50. That's my biggest takeaway. I know the Grizzlies are a weak opponent, but the 4-5 winner in the West between the Nuggets and the Clippers, which has also, let's talk about that for a second. That's been a great series. Can't believe it's on NBA TV, but the first 2 games have been cinema. The best series so far, even though only 1 or 2 games played in both series. But I still trust the Nuggets. They have the best player in the world on their side. Obviously, the defense isn't there like it is for LA. And the coaching, people can call them inexperienced, which is true, which is why I think they're going to run the Thunder and lose. But I think the Thunder are definitely making out of the West. That's not an overreaction through the first 2 games. That was my pick before the postseason. Yeah. But then the Warriors, as this is recording, game 2 starts tonight.
Yeah.
They looked great defensively, and they did good job adjusting to Rockets' game plan, which was strictly to stop Curry, but Curry still went off in game one. I think they're going to make a run in the West. I think they
Yeah,
can beat the
definitely.
Lakers or the Timberwolves. But then transitioning to the East, the Celtics about to go up 2-0, and the Cavs. Both teams have had great shooting nights in game one
Yeah,
and two, especially the Cavs. They've been shooting the lights out first two games of the series. And then the 4-5 Pacers have been dominating. Dame came back
yeah,
last night. It was closer, definitely in game two than in game one with the Dame back, but the Pacers still
yeah,
pulled away. 2-0 going into Milwaukee. I'm not going to count out Giannis and the
yeah,
Bucks. They're going to have a great crowd. Game three, must win. No teams ever came back from 3-0. And then the 3-6 matchup in the East, Knicks Pistons is off to a great start.
yeah. I think that's definitely the best series in the East.
Yeah, we saw that 21-0 run in game one, and then the Pistons
Yeah,
bounced back, won. Huge game two win. Now the series is tied going into the Pistons house, and I feel
yeah,
like we all know, Trevin, that's going to be a madhouse.
yeah.
Game 3 and 4. Okay.
I I know I texted you earlier, Noah, but Detroit, the city of Detroit, lives through sports and having so much success. With the Tigers doing good finally, the Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Pistons just had one of the most historic turnarounds in NBA history. The city of Detroit is going to turn up at Little Caesars Arena when the New York Knicks come to town, and I think with the veteran presence of Tobias Harris, he has really stepped up as a leader in that locker room for the
Yeah.
young guys. Cade Cunningham obviously is the number one option. Asor Thompson, Malik Beasley. I think the Pistons can really give the Knicks a run for their money. I think that game is going to go 7. Or I think
Yeah,
that series is going to go 7 games for sure.
I agree. Um, I think the Knicks are going to pull away in the end. They definitely have the experience in the playoffs we saw last year.
Yeah,
If it wasn't for injuries, they would probably be playing the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. But I can't trust. I told you this yesterday. They don't have a Dante DiVincenzo anymore. They don't have a shooter that can keep them in the game. Miles
yeah,
McBride is great, but Mikal Bridges, who they gave up basically their whole future for.
yeah,
I, if that game comes down, Knicks are down by 3. I don't think Brunson. They would give the ball to Jalen Brunson. Actually, they would. I can't trust them to hit a shot though.
yeah,
In that case, a year ago, Dante DiVincenzo was hitting that shot, and we saw that game 2 last year against the Sixers. They gave up their whole future for Cat and Mikal, but
yeah,
neither one of them, I think, is going to do that much in the playoffs.
yeah. Mikhail's a great defender, but I don't know if his value on offense is going to be enough to outlast the Celtics because I think the Celtics and the Cavs are just going to dog walk whoever they play in the second round. And I think the Eastern Conference Final is going to be chalk. I think it's going to be Cavs Celtics. I think that series will be great if it eventually happens. Cavs Celtics.
I
I mean,
feel
the
like that's been
Cavs.
known for months. Like that's been the predictable outcome. It's just Cavs.
Yeah,
So, like ever since the Cavs started out 15-0.
yeah. And the Celtics. I mean, they are defending champs, so they're gonna try to want to go back to back.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely have the experience edge on the Cavs, but the Cavs have just been so hot this year, and no one's really gotten hurt. And you see Ty Jerome coming off the bench, probably could have maybe won 6 Man of the Year, lost
All
it
right.
to Peyton Pritchard, and then you have the big four of Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell, and then the trade for DeAndre Hunter. I think that was a great move
He's
for him
been
to play
great
the 3.
off the bench.
Yeah. And then the Celtics, you all know about the Celtics: Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford. They have so many guys. They have guys on guys on guys, which that's the reason they won last year. But I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the streak and the hotness of the Cavs so far this year.
I do because I trust Joe Mazzulla more than Kenny Atkinson. Although the
Yeah,
season Atkinson's had, I think Missoula's still the better coach. And I think the Celtics still have the better team. Jason Tatum, if he's healthy, which he will be then, seems like a couple games that he's been out. But then even if Tatum isn't performing the best, we saw this in the finals last year. Tatum
Yeah.
wasn't playing that well. Peyton Pritchard stepped up. Derek White stepped up. Jaylen Brown, the Finals MVP, took into that superstar role. And then Kristaps this year, he was dealing with an injury for the first couple games. He's been great.
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser's been a good shooter off the bench. Al Horford, been a good locker room presence. I don't know if the Celtics or the Cavs, whoever wins that, can compete with the Thunder. I feel like that's going to be one of the best finals in years since the Boston Suns in 2021.
Yeah.
Whoever, even if it's not the Celtics, Cavs, or Thunder, which there's a really low probability that happens, I feel like it's going to be a really good finals.
Yeah, I think the Thunder's biggest knock is just their lack of experience.
Yeah.
But I think the Warriors might have something to say about people just putting the Thunder to go in the finals as a shoe-in, even in the first round, just because Steph Curry has a lot of pressure to win another finals. If he has 5, he finally has more than LeBron. That's kind of a big thing. I think Steph Curry can definitely cement himself into everyone's top 10 and maybe sneak into the top 5 all time.
I think he might be in the top 5 all time.
If he wins another finals.
Even if he makes the Western Conference Finals or makes the finals, drags a 7 seed.
I think that definitely cements himself as the best point guard of all time too, over Magic.
I think the ring forwarded, but everyone should feel.
Yeah. And as a 7 seed too, I think this Warriors team, it would be a very cool storyline to see them play the Thunder just because in the Western Conference Finals, because that would just be young versus old, experience versus inexperience. I think that would be a great storyline. But also, I feel like LeBron James has a lot of pressure. You might have saw Stephen A's list about the players with the most pressure to win NBA Finals this year, and LeBron was number 1 at 40 years old. Yeah. As a 3 seed, LeBron with Luka Doncic, you can't count those 2 guys out of making a deep run in the playoffs.
Defensively and both sides of the ball last night, they looked dominant over the Timberwolves in a game they needed. They could not go down 2-0 and then go to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't think you can count out the Denver Nuggets either, or whoever wins at the Clippers, because Kawhi, man, playoff Kawhi, we saw it the other night. He dropped 40. And then in game 1, back and forth battle. James Harden's woken up for the playoffs. He's been great last month of the season and now in the playoffs. And then the Nuggets, Westbrook, in my eyes, like the Jameis Winston of football. You never know what you're gonna get. It's always gonna be a crazy ride. I mean, we saw that game 1. He had a go-ahead 3 with 20 seconds left, huge shot. Then they got the ball back, looking for one more opportunity. He turned it over.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, he's gonna get a lot of minutes. So he's still gonna get 35 minutes a game as that 6th man. But
I think with Russ, you don't know what you're gonna get, but he's gonna bring you a lot of energy. That's for sure. Yeah. He's gonna bring good vibes to the team. He's gonna bring passion to the team, no matter what. If he plays good, if he plays bad, he's always gonna be a good guy to have on your team, no matter the talent. And I think, in my opinion, the MVP Jokic, his value he brings to the offense is just otherworldly, that you can never count out the Nuggets with him on the court, no matter who they're playing. But the Clippers, if we see vintage playoff Harden and vintage playoff Kawhi doing what they've done in games 1 and game 2, it's going to be tough for the Nuggets to battle with that. Because
going into LA too.
Yeah, going into LA, going into the Intuit Dome, Jokic has to be more than just a one-man show. He's going to need help from Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Russ off the bench, Aaron Gordon. He's going to need help from those guys.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't get that help that he needs, I think Harden, Kawhi, Norman Powell, Ivica Zubac, those guys are going to walk all over the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, the Clippers, I mean, guys off the bench, like Derrick Jones Jr. has been a big impact. He's really under the radar. And like you said, Norman Powell also, 20-plus points per game scored. Not a single person's going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And Kawhi, just the whole season, he's still playoff Kawhi. It's been so many injuries since that finals ring in Toronto. He looks the exact same as he did half a decade ago in 2019.
Just super efficient. He's going to be knocked down from that mid-range if he gets to his spot. Lockdown defense. Everything. Kawhi Leonard is just amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
But I like that you said Derek Jones Jr. He was on a Finals Mavericks team last year and played a huge part of that run. And he maybe could do the same this year with the Clippers, but I don't know. I said in episode 1 that for some reason I never liked the Clippers, just how people say the Jets are going to jet, the Mets are going to Met, the Clippers are going to Clipper. There's always going to be something that the Clippers do. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's a dumb play. The rap song "Why is Batum in?" Fourth quarter, I'm wondering why is Batum in. I mean, that's what I was wondering in overtime in Game 1. Like, why is Nicholas Batum getting crunch time minutes? But I think the Nuggets can barely squeak out because I think Christian Brown and Jamal Murray are going to be able to step up. But I don't think, unless Jamal Murray turns into like 2020 playoff Jamal Murray, I think the Thunder are going to stomp over the Nuggets.
Yeah. The thing you said about the Mets going to Met, Clippers going to Clipper, Jets going to Jet. The thing is, I agreed with you at the time. There was about 2 games left in the regular season, I want to say, when we recorded that.
Yeah.
They went into the Chase Center, beat the Warriors for the 5 seed in the West, and now they just won a huge game. Kawhi put it all out there, dropping 39 in a huge game too. I feel like I still am picking the Nuggets, but I'm not going to count out the Clippers. I feel like they got a terrible draw with Denver. I still trust the best player in the world, like I said. But if they had the Lakers, Timberwolves, or Warriors, any of those teams, I would trust them in the playoff series.
Yeah. It's weird. The West is so weird this year because the team I trust the most to win a playoff series besides the Thunder is in the 2-7 matchup, and it's the 7 seed.
Yeah.
That's so weird to think about, but I think the Rockets' inexperience is just hurting them a lot. I think they'll be back soon. Ime Udoka is a great head coach, and the squad of Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson is a great team. Just no one has experience besides Fred. And I think the Warriors take care of business there. But I don't think the Warriors' path is going to get easy because I think the Lakers will beat the Timberwolves, hopefully. And even if the Timberwolves win that series, the Timberwolves were in the Western Conference Finals last year. So either way, the Warriors' path to the finals is not easy.
I mean, that's been the case with the West the whole year. It's just such a crazy conference we saw in the regular season. The 4 versus 7 or 8 seed was like a 2-game difference. It's been insane.
It's so deep and so competitive that this is what we want out of the NBA.
Exactly. And also the viewership problem, it's been the highest viewers to the first weekend in playoffs in years. Like, great watch for the NBA.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that has to do with Steph and LeBron.
Yeah, definitely. Having both those guys in the playoffs and being the favorites to win their series is big for the NBA. And especially with March Madness this year, having all chalk in the Final Four. I think it's good that the NBA kind of has a 7 seed that could make the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot. And that could kind of be the Cinderella story for basketball instead of having it be March Madness like it normally is.
Yeah.
And lastly, Noah, I want to transition. NFL draft is tomorrow night. Let me hear your mock draft, Noah.
Okay. With the first pick in the draft, obviously, it's been known 4 months, Cam Ward going number 1 overall. He even is hinting to public at it, which never happened.
Calvin Ridley being a top 4 wide receiver in
the
the
NFL. Spears and 25 best coach in the NFL, Brian Callen. Okay. Number 2 overall. We've talked about this on the last episode. My opinion hasn't changed on it. Abdul Carter to the Browns. Number 3 overall. Giants take Travis Hunter. A lot of skill positions. I feel like he should play receiver with the Giants. I don't know. I feel like the thing with Travis Hunter, wherever he lands up, let's say he's going to play DB. If Darius Slayton gets hurt, let's hypothetically, I feel like they can put him at receiver.
Because he's fit to play both, honestly.
4th overall, this is the biggest move so far. The Patriots take Ashton Genty.
Okay.
4th overall. I feel like they're trying to stack up their skill positions, help out that offense. They signed my defense in free agency. They signed Stephon Diggs as well. They're just
Yep.
trying to help Drake May. 5th overall, Jags take Mason Graham. 6th overall, the Las Vegas Raiders take Ted McMillan. I feel like they want skill positions for Geno. And I
Yeah.
think I don't know, he just seems like one of Pete Carroll's guys. 7th
Yeah.
overall, Jets take Will Campbell. Did need a
Okay.
lot of protection for
Yeah. Justin Fields has never really gotten the protection he
No,
deserves in the NFL, and I think if the Jets can finally grant him that wish of having a good pass protection,
Yeah,
maybe Justin Fields can prove some haters wrong.
yeah. I hope so. 8th overall, Panthers take Shamar Stewart. I love Shamar Stewart. I think he's played great against good offensive line talent at A&M. And then 9th overall, the Saints take Shador Sanders. I'm surprised. I've seen a lot of people mocking him below that. Even his draft stock's been falling recently.
Yeah.
We'll see where you have him. I know where you have him soon. 10th overall, Bears take Tyler Warren. I feel like right now for the Bears, it's the best player available type of scenario, and I'd be pretty happy with that Tyler Warren pick.
For sure.
11th overall, 49ers take Will Johnson. Defense was not that good last year, and I feel like Will Johnson is a proven cornerback. He's been great for a long time in college football at Michigan.
And I think
12th
with the departure of Charvarius Ward, that'll be good for the 49ers to kind of fill that hole with Ward going to the Colts.
Yeah, for sure. 12th overall, Cowboys, they're lucky to get him. I'm surprised myself to see that I had him falling this far. Jalen Walker to the Cowboys at 12. 13, Dolphins take Mike Green.
Okay.
14th, Colts take Colston Loveland. They need some tight ends. It's been the case for years.
Yeah.
15, Falcons take Jahdae Barron. Their defense was not that good last year. I just think they're just Falcons the last couple of years have just been stacking up skill positions, and I think that are skill players. That position hasn't worked out so far, but I mean, I guess last year Justin Simmons they did that same thing, and then they got Judon on defense. They're really getting defense over the last couple of years, 21 through 23. They drafted Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. Now I think they're flipping it over to the defensive side a little bit.
Yeah. And then 24 drafting Penix too at quarterback. They've really stacked up.
Yeah, 24. I forgot about that. That was the big one.
Yeah.
16th, Cardinals take Malachi Starks. I love Malachi Starks. I mean, he played great last year for Georgia. 17th, the Bengals take Nick Gordon. We've seen last year. Wait. Okay, no, we're good. I got Nick Gordon and Shamar Stewart mixed up for a second. But the Bengals last year, their biggest problem was defense. That's the whole reason they didn't make the playoffs. And also probably win a couple playoff games. Their record would have been a lot better if they had defense side of the ball because their offense was great. But they need skill players. They've prioritized that, it seems like, in free agency. And now, 18th overall, Seahawks take Tyler Booker.
Okay, yeah.
19th overall, Bucks take James Pierce.
Okay, yep.
20th overall, Broncos take Emeka Egbuka. I like Emeka. I've seen him play a long time as a Northwestern fan.
Yeah.
Seen him in person 3 times. And the Broncos, I don't know. I feel like they didn't have that receiver too last year. Troy Franklin was like kind of developing into it a little bit, but
they
need a true guy, and I like Emeka. Steelers take Josh Simmons at 21.
Okay.
Chargers take Matthew Golden at 22. I had him falling a little bit. I don't think he's too good.
I think he's been getting overhyped as well. He's a speedster, but he's kind of just one-dimensional in my opinion. Just kind of relies on the speed.
Yeah, for sure. 23rd overall, Packers take Maxwell Harrison.
Okay, yeah.
24th overall, Vikings take Josh Connerly.
Okay.
25th overall, or Yes, Texans take Gray Zabel.
Uh-huh.
26th overall, Rams take Jahad Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
27th, Ravens take Nick Eamon-Worry.
Okay, yep.
28th, Lions, Donovan Ez.
Mm-hmm.
Not pronouncing that full name.
Yeah.
29th overall, I feel like the Commanders need to protect Daniels. That's their only need after trading for Debo. Derek Harmon.
Okay.
30th overall, your Bills take Trey Amos.
Okay, yeah.
At 31st overall, I don't like him at all. I don't know how he fell here. Or most teams will. The NFL is going to be crazy mad when this happens. Like, I just know. As the Cubs win 6-7, series win over the Dodgers, and we
The
have this team
billionaire Dodgers.
versus the power of friendship. Cubs go, bullpen didn't go well tonight. Back to it. 31st overall, Chiefs take Armand Membo. They
Okay.
needed tackle. We saw that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
32nd overall, Eagles take Derek Harmon.
Okay.
And that is my first round mock draft.
Okay, Noah. We have some agreements on some stuff, some disagreements on some other stuff. Titans, first overall pick. I mean, they basically already told Cam Ward that he's being taken first overall. The Titans are taking Cam Ward. Second overall, I disagree with your take, Noah. I don't think the Browns are going to take Abdul Carter. They have Myles Garrett already at edge rusher. I think they're going to draft out a need. I think they need a quarterback bad. I think they're going Shedeur Sanders. I don't like the pick. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is worthy of going top 5 or top 2 like he's going to be in my mock draft. But Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett cannot be your starting quarterback in 2025 heading into week 1. I think they're going to draft out a need, and I don't think they're going to take the risk of trying to trade for a different draft pick to get Shedeur.
Sure.
Third, I agree with you that the Giants are going to take Trav, but I disagree with you on where he's going to play. I think if you're going to take Travis Hunter in the top 5 of the draft, you need to play him both ways, like Ryan Clark said, because he's not a top 3 receiver by himself, and he's not a top 3 corner by himself. Combined, he's a top 5 pick overall because of his versatility, like Ohtani.
Yeah.
But if you're just playing him at one position, it's not worth it. If you want a receiver, just take Ted McMillan. If you want a corner, just take Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron.
That's a good point. But I don't know. Would the Giants want to, though? We've seen their poorly ran organization. We saw Hard Knocks, the Saquon stuff. I feel like this could be like a type of fumble like that, and I don't know if the players would want that. I don't know if Neighbors and Slayton would be like, "Oh, I'm not letting this dual threat."
Yeah,
like it's all based off hypotheticals, but yeah.
Fourth, I have the Patriots taking Abdul Carter. I think they go best available at this point. You know, they've been trying to help out their future star quarterback in Drake May, but I think when you have Abdul Carter on the board still at 4th overall, you have to pick him up. I think the Patriots defense, if they add Abdul Carter, will be one of the best defenses in the NFL. They were already great last year, and then having Abdul Carter on the pass rush is just amazing for them. 5th, I agree with you, Noah. I have the Jaguars taking Mason Graham. I think with Graham's size, but also his balance and just his ability to be light on his feet at the defensive tackle position is like no other. I think he's a top-level talent that should be in the top 5 and will get drafted by the Jags. 6th, I have the Raiders taking Ashton Genty. I think that's a perfect fit. The Raiders need a running back desperately, and Genty's by far the best running back in the draft. Maybe should have won the Heisman, depending on who you ask. And
I say Trav, but I
say Trav too, but still, Genty in any other year most likely would have won the Heisman and is a generational running back talent. 7th, I agree with you, Noah. Also, I have the Jets taking Will Campbell. Protect Justin Fields as much as possible. That needs to be the Jets' main goal. 8th, you had Shamar Stewart. I'm going with a different defensive guy. I have them taking Jalen Walker. I think the versatility of Walker being able to play defensive end and play linebacker, kind of like Micah Parsons, I think the Panthers see that, and I think I think they like that more than Stewart. I'm not a huge fan of Stewart because the film I've seen of Stewart, he's very one-dimensional. I saw the film of him against Armin Mimbaugh when A&M played Mizzou this year. He tried to bull rush Mimbaugh every single time on the pass rush, and it didn't work against a guy of Mimbaugh's size, where in the NFL, all offensive tackles are going to be the size of Mimbaugh. So
Yeah.
I think Shamar Stewart is going to have to develop his game more in the pass rush. Run defense, he's amazing. Being able to track players on short passes is amazing. Just his pass rush needs help. And I think with Walker's versatility to play on the D-line and back up and play linebacker is going to be why he goes in the top 10. 9, Noah, I have the Saints going with another edge, but it's still not Shamar Stewart. I have the Saints taking Mykel Williams out of the University of Georgia. I'm a big fan of Mykel Williams. I think him and Jalen Walker, so the last year for Georgia, were just amazing on the defensive line, and then Walker backing him playing corner and letting Williams just be the primary edge rusher. They were both amazing and caused a lot of chaos in the SEC for SEC quarterbacks, causing a lot of pressure on them. 10th, Noah, I have your Bears getting their guy, getting the last offensive line piece that they need, and taking Armin Mimbaugh, protecting their former first overall pick, Caleb Williams.
I hope not.
I love me some Armin Mimbaugh. I know you have him falling a lot in your draft, all the way to 31 to the Chiefs, but I love Armin Mimbaugh, just his size and his ability to really block anyone. Like the Shamar Stewart film, he blocked Shamar Stewart so well. Shamar Stewart was not getting past him on anything. He was protecting Cook so well throughout his whole career at Mizzou. And I think it translates very well to the NFL. 11, I agree with you, Noah. I have the 49ers taking Will Johnson. I think they need to fill that hole of Charvarius Ward leaving. And Will Johnson, in my opinion, has some of the best instincts I've ever seen out of a corner at young of an age as a draft prospect. I think the injury history is the only reason he's not going in the top 10 and maybe even the top 5. I know a lot of people have said he has tackling issues, but I don't care about that. No corner is going to be that good at tackling besides Jalen Ramsey. I mean, the greatest cornerback of all time, Deion Sanders, could never tackle. So I'm not worried about your tackling ability as a cornerback. 12, I have the Cowboys taking Teteroa McMillan. I think it's a perfect fit. They need wide receiver. Teteroa McMillan is by far the best wide receiver in the draft. And I think it's perfect for the Cowboys. What do you think?
I don't think he's going to fall that far, but if he does, which I feel like your mock draft is more realistic than mine, it's a best player available scenario for the Cowboys. They needed a second guy after CeeDee Lamb. And I feel like a Dak, Tet, and CD offense could be scary for the East to see, but yeah.
Yeah. 13, I have.
I'm still worried about the defense.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Cowboys are going to need to address the defense later in the draft, but I think first round, best available, Tet McMillan. I think he's awesome. 13, I have the Dolphins going offensive line. They were one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year, and they lost Teron Armstead. So I have them filling that hole of Teron Armstead retiring by getting a tackle on Kelvin Banks Jr. out of the University of Texas. I like Kelvin Banks Jr. as a tackle. I think this draft has a lot of great offensive tackles, and I think Banks is going to fall right into the Dolphins' lap, and I think that's what the Dolphins want. 14, I have them falling a lot, but I think it's perfect if the Colts can pick them up. I have the Colts taking Tyler Warren. I think that is a perfect fit for Indianapolis. They've been needing a tight end. Tyler Warren is one of the best tight end prospects we've seen in the past 10 years, honestly. He can do it all. He's a great blocker, great route runner, great receiver. He can even play quarterback if you want to. We saw him. Yeah. I mean, Tyler Warren is amazing. He's awesome. Whatever you want to describe him with, he's all of that. 15, I have the Falcons taking Mike Green. If Mike Green falls to number 15,
that's true.
The Falcons better scoop him up. If they don't pick Mike Green at 15, he's on the board. That is a failure of a draft. He is the perfect guy for the Falcons. Like you said, they've been focusing on offense for the past 4 years. And I think they need to shift their focus to the defense. And I think Mike Green is perfect for them. He's super athletic, such an athletic edge rusher. I don't know if you know this, Noah, but he first came into college as a wide receiver. and got
Really?
moved to linebacker, then to D end. He is that athletic that he used to be a wide receiver, gained a few pounds, and is still an athletic beast at defensive end.
Mhm.
16, I had the Cardinals taking Tyler Booker. I think besides their defense, really the only hole for the Cardinals is the line. They need a little bit of wide receiver help, but taking Maserati Marv last year, they kind of fixed that receiver hole. They have a great tight end, Trey McBride, great running back, James Conner, great quarterback, Kyler Murray. But I think they need to protect Kyler Murray, and getting a good guard like Tyler Booker out of Alabama is definitely going to help that.
All right.
17, Bengals, they need defense. They need all the defense they can get. I have them taking Walter Nolan. A big fan of Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. He's the first defensive tackle I have besides Mason Graham being taken off the board. You know, a lot of people are saying Kenneth Grant or maybe even Derek Harmon out of Oregon, but in my opinion, I think Walter Nolan is that second best defensive tackle in the draft besides Mason Graham. 18, I have the Seahawks addressing their offensive line issues. I have them taking Josh Simmons to play on the other side of Charles Cross. Charles Cross playing left tackle. Josh Simmons can play right tackle. Protect your $1 million man and Sam Darnold. You just paid him a bag. You got to protect him at all costs. And I think having Simmons and Charles Cross blocking the edge rushers will help Darnold out a lot.
I've seen Simmons in person too. He's just a beast.
Yeah.
They're getting double teamed a lot of the time when we rushed Will Howard, but he's a beast. Yeah. If the Seahawks take, I don't know if he's gonna go that high, but I could see him going to the Seahawks. I feel like that's a very Seahawks type of pick.
Yeah. 19, I have the Bucs taking James Pierce like you. I think that's just a perfect fit for Tampa. Jason Light has basically said that they're taking an edge rusher in the first round because there's so many good edge rushers. And I think Pierce falls to 19 because we've heard the personality issues that Tennessee has complained about and the character issues of James Pierce that has kind of made his draft stock fall a little bit. But last year around this time, James Pierce was the projected first overall pick for the 2025 draft. This guy is super talented still. And if he falls to 19 for the Bucs, that's a great fit for them. 20, I have the Broncos going with the tight end because they need a tight end desperately. I have them taking Colston Loveland from Michigan. He's definitely the second best tight end in this class besides Warren. And I think he's definitely worthy of a first-round pick, and it fits a perfect hole for the Broncos. 21, I have the Steelers addressing their running back issue. Jalen Warren right now is their starting running back. So I have him taking Omarion Hampton out of UNC. I think he is basically the consensus RB2 in this draft. And I think just his overall ability, do it all type of player, that he'll be a perfect fit for the Steelers. They can finally get their true RB1 once they hopefully sign Aaron Rodgers to get a quarterback. And then I think they have a completed squad. George Pickens, DK Metcalf, hopefully Aaron Rodgers, and then in my mock draft, Omarion Hampton at running back. Great defense like they always have.
Yeah.
22, like you have, Noah, I have the Chargers taking Matt Golden out of Texas. I think they need receiver help badly, and I think if they get a speedster like Golden to pair with McConkey, who's more of a route running type of player, and then a speedster like Golden, I think that's going to be a perfect duo for Justin Herbert to throw bombs downfield to.
Mm-hmm.
23, I have the Packers taking Jahdae Barron. I think, Jair Alexander's getting up there in age, and I think Jahdae Barron can fill that hole and be the future corner one of Green Bay. And then Vikings, I have them taking a corner. I have the Vikings taking Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. I think just athleticism and everything overall, I think Hairston is a great pick. Great value pick at 24, too, for the Vikings, and they can fill that corner hole. 25, I have the Texans taking Josh Connerly, tackle out of Oregon, because we saw C.J. Stroud, the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. They need offensive line help bad, and I think Josh Connerly can help that out a lot. Rams, I have them taking Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. I think that's a perfect fit. I think they need some linebacker help, and I think Jihad Campbell can fill that hole for them and help the Rams maybe make a final Super Bowl push with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. 27, I finally have him getting drafted. I have the Ravens taking Shamar Stewart. I know I have him falling a lot in my draft, but I'm telling you, Noah, he can only bull rush. He has no finesse moves in the pass rush, and I think NFL teams are going to see that, and I think he's going to take a slide in this draft.
I think he's a beast.
I'm not a big fan of the senior day risers. The senior day, the Senior Bowl, Pro Day, Combine. Those guys who just keep rising and don't have as much college game film, but it's their Senior Bowl and Pro Day that they rise from. I'm not a big fan of those guys. We saw Shamar Stewart's draft stock go crazy high after the Senior Bowl, and it wasn't even like he was facing the other team's best tackles because Nick Scorton was really the most scouted edge rusher on A&M this year.
Last year, do you think Xavier Worthy was the biggest riser?
Probably just because of the 40 time. Well, Penix, but that wasn't because of his pro day. It was just because the Falcons took a big risk.
I think that I like the riser. I mean, Xavier Worthy, we know how he is. He might be a 1,000-yard receiver next year as a receiver, 2 or 3 in Kansas City.
But like we've seen, like Zach Wilson, who he was a big riser because of his pro day. That one throw, he obviously hasn't done good. We've seen Anthony Richardson become a huge riser after his combine and pro day. We've seen his struggles in the NFL. I think there's more busts than there are successes with those type of players.
Okay.
28, I have the Lions taking Donovan I'm not going to try to pronounce that full last name, but the Lions really don't need anything. They could honestly trade out of this pick, but just taking Donovan. He's probably the best available at that draft spot, so why not take the best available and maybe get some trade value out of him if he develops later on. 29, I have the Commanders taking Siobhan Reevil out of Eastern Carolina. I think besides his torn ACL, Reevil has just been great at Eastern Carolina. He was all AAC first defensive team. And besides his torn ACL that he only played 2 games last year. Reevil has a lot of talent at the corner position. I think the Commanders kind of need that with Emmanuel St. Juste starting every game at corner. That's terrible. 30, maybe some wishful thinking, but I have the Bills taking Nick Eamon-Warry out of South Carolina. I think we need a little help at the safety position with Cole Bishop, DeMar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp being our 3 main safeties. I think if we can get Eamon-Warry out of South Carolina at pick 30, I think that's great value. And I think that can kind of be a help to the defense. We saw some injuries. We saw Rapp was out in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs, and rookie Cole Bishop had to step up, and he kind of disappointed. The controversial Worthy catch. He made that over Cole Bishop, and Cole Bishop kind of showed his rookie immaturity in that game. But I think if we could get a little more help on the safety position, I think that's really the only other thing the Bills need, and I think we can really contend for a Super Bowl because the Chiefs keep going downhill. 31, the Chiefs need offensive line. Yeah. After Trey Smith leaving to the Bears, or not Trey Smith leaving to the Bears, Joe Thuney leaving to the Bears. They re-signed Trey Smith, but Joe Thuney leaving to the Bears, they're going to need some help. I have them taking Gray Zeeble out of North Dakota State. I think he's a great offensive line talent. He's the second best guard in this draft besides Tyler Booker. And then lastly, 32nd overall, I have the Eagles taking Derek Harmon out of the University of Oregon. I think the Eagles, their whole strategy is to have depth at the defensive line position, and they've lost a lot of guys. They lost Sweat. They lost Brandon Graham. They lost Milton Williams, who was so good in the Super Bowl. And I think having that depth at the defensive line position, I think they're going to try to replenish it, and I think Derek Harmon will be the best defensive lineman available at pick 32. I think Harmon's a great talent from Oregon, and if the Eagles can get him at 32, that'd be great, and maybe the Eagles can go back-to-back.
I mean, I'd put him as the favorites right now.
Yeah. Maybe my Bills. Maybe my Bills the
or
AFC
the
favorite.
Chiefs. I mean, they got receivers back. No
Yeah.
legal charges on Worthy, which is great.
But
I love
Rasheed
it.
Rice, what's his suspension going to look like with his hit and run accident?
Isn't that next year though, or is it this summer? I don't remember.
I'm not sure when the NFL is going to like put it out, but I thought it was supposed to be this year once he came back from his ACL injury.
Yeah.
Also, how is Rasheed Rice going to return from his ACL injury? And we've seen Kelsey continue to go downhill.
I mean, the Chiefs made the Super Bowl last year with a crazy tough AFC. Their best receiver and probably weapon with Kelsey going downhill
Yeah.
out for the year. And a terrible offensive line. I think they're going to get better for next year. I still have them as the favorite for the AFC for sure. And then the Bills right behind them. I think they had a pretty good offseason.
Yeah,
We'll see what
definitely.
happens in the draft.
We will see tomorrow night, 2025 NFL draft. We will see how our mock drafts do. We definitely had some hot takes in there, especially you, Noah, having Armin Mimbow fall so far in the draft.
Imagine that happens. So like that'll be such a gold for the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, nobody wants to see,
But that's all we have for you today, folks. As for us, I'm Trevin. That's Noah.
no.
We're out. Peace.